Mexico is an economy that should be prosperous. It has a large and relatively skilled population, shares a direct land border with the world's largest economy and the biggest consumer market, has easy access to the world's oceans for global trade, is in a peaceful part of the world, and possesses abundant natural resources. Trade tensions between the United States and China provided Mexico with a unique opportunity, as cheap consumer goods from China became artificially more expensive due to tariffs and trade restrictions. Mexico was in a perfect position to step in as a center for low-cost manufacturing. Then came the global pandemic, exposing the vulnerability of supply chains. Mexico found itself again in a unique position to capitalize on this situation, being a geographically, economically, and politically close country that could serve as a one-stop shop for manufactured goods where price was the most crucial factor. While the Mexican manufacturing industry has grown significantly, the expected economic prosperity has not materialized. Understanding why can teach economists valuable lessons on managing their own economies to seize opportunities. So why has Mexico's growth stagnated, despite its industrial opportunities becoming much more lucrative? There are economic downsides to being so close to the world's largest economy. Can Mexico do something to navigate these issues? Once we've addressed all of this, we can place Mexico on the national economic scoreboard, even with all the recent issues China has faced regarding its low-cost manufacturing exports. Trade tensions are just one factor. In addition to extended closures, concerns about intellectual property, higher wage demands, and a less business-friendly government, China remains, at least for now, much more globally competitive than Mexico. China continues to be by far the world's largest manufacturing nation, even with the setbacks caused by the global pandemic, trade wars, and prolonged shutdowns. Its industrial production has grown significantly in recent years and is still growing. In 2021 alone, its manufacturing production increased by over 20% to $4.85 trillion, making it nearly double the productivity of the United States, the second-ranking nation, and 20 times more productive than Mexico. To put this into perspective, China adds about 5% of the total world production value to its factory resources each year, which is approximately $4.85 trillion. In contrast, Mexico produces manufactured goods worth $230 billion annually. Even if Mexico exclusively manufactured goods for export to the United States, it still wouldn't produce enough to replace half of China's imports, which are valued at $580 billion. The US-China trade war, increased Chinese labor costs, and the logistics advantage of crossing a land border instead of the world's largest ocean have shortened distances, but not eliminated them. It's always important to consider biases when analyzing such issues. People tend to be better at finding evidence that confirms what they want to be true rather than finding evidence against what they want to hear. Despite understandable objections to the Chinese government's leadership and economic influence, this won't change just because we want it to. In the context of this particular macroeconomic debate, with China and Mexico vying for the lucrative US market, social and political issues likely also distract from the fact that Mexico is not perfect either. Despite having solid economic characteristics such as abundant natural resources, a young and productive workforce, and a favorable geographical location, Mexico faces criticisms and challenges that hinder its full economic potential. One key problem is crime, which remains a significant concern affecting both the national population and the country's international reputation. Unfortunately, it's one of the first things that come to mind when people think about Mexico. Whether this reputation is deserved or not isn't really important. Today, more than ever, international reputation matters. Mexico's association with cartels and illicit activities overshadows its status as a great export market and destination for foreign investments. It's important to note that this video focuses solely on Mexico's legitimate industries, and illicit industries likely deserve separate attention. However, the negative perceptions and bad press surrounding Mexico have had significant economic repercussions. International investors often overlook Mexico as a significant developing economy due to concerns about security. Another problem is simply opportunity. Despite being the world's 15th largest economy, Mexico struggles with wealth distribution, with the nation's wealth highly concentrated among its large population, with intense concentrations at the top. While wealth inequality is not as severe as in other countries, it remains a concern. Regional disparities, especially those beyond the border regions with the United States and Mexico City, experience higher poverty rates and limited access to economic benefits compared to larger cities. Wealth inequality by itself causes social problems but doesn't always harm the economy. One of the main reasons people think Mexico could be the next China is because it offers low-cost manufacturing. Wealth inequality has also contributed to the problem of being underbanked in Mexico. Many people lack access to traditional financial services such as bank accounts, online banking, mortgages, and credit cards. This lack of financial inclusion generates various problems, including limited financial stability, difficulties in doing business, and restricted social mobility. Although having a well-regulated financial industry has advantages, such as secure money storage, investments, and ease of doing business, the emphasis on inclusivity and addressing these challenges could unlock Mexico's untapped economic potential businesses. Mexico's situation of underbanking hinders the realization of these benefits. The lack of opportunities, combined with issues such as crime and limited income prospects for regular workers, has led to a significant exodus of educated individuals from Mexico. The country's biggest export is its own people, with over 13 million Mexican citizens living abroad, primarily in the United States. While remittances from these individuals benefit the local economy, there is a negative impact when skilled workers permanently leave the country. A flow of income from abroad can never replace, in the long term, highly skilled national workers who can create value-added industries. Mexico's inequality, characterized by extreme disparities between the rich and the poor, exacerbates these problems, as people tend to seek a better life in the north. However, as many will point out, this may be starting to change as opportunities begin to shift southward. Companies like Toyota and Tesla have taken advantage of the proximity of Mexican labor to make significant investments in the country. This foreign investment, like all foreign investment, can be classified into two categories: foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Foreign direct investment refers to specific investments made in a country where the investor maintains significant control over the asset and can benefit from more than just financial returns. For example, if a wealthy American family buys a vacation home in New Zealand, that is considered foreign direct investment. Similarly, when an automotive company like Ford sets up a factory in Mexico, it is also considered foreign direct investment. This type of investment is generally seen as beneficial to the economy as it stimulates local markets and creates jobs. However, it has its problems. Foreign direct investment, by its nature, gives a lot of control to foreign entities and also means that most economic planning around these investments focuses on extracting value to return it to the investor's home country. When an American company opens a factory in Mexico, it is not doing so to help the Mexican economy or its people. It is to access a cheaper manufacturing center than a domestic operation. Any boost to the local economy is a side effect that is likely not even welcomed by the companies making these investments, as they do not want the workforce to thrive too much and start demanding too much money. Moreover, any significant developments made by these investments will primarily return value to the investing country. If a US-owned R&D center established in Mexico discovers a new and amazing battery technology, that technology would belong to the American company. The alternative is foreign portfolio investment. Foreign portfolio investment involves investing in a foreign market through financial instruments facilitated by local financial institutions. For example, an Australian investor can buy US stocks through an Australian broker without physically going to the United States. Or a US citizen can buy shares of a new Mexican company researching battery technology. If the startup discovers new and amazing battery technologies, the US investor would get a good return, but the technology would still belong to the Mexican company. That's why this type of investment is usually considered the better option for the receiving country. However, for all the reasons we've explored and will cover soon, it's not a very popular option in Mexico. Nevertheless, foreign direct investment in Mexico has brought benefits through job opportunities, training, and the development of local industries. When Tesla builds its new factory in Mexico, it will employ thousands of Mexican workers just to construct it, before employing thousands more to operate it once it's operational. More than that, foreign direct investment, especially from well-known multinational companies, is becoming less tangible, but possibly more important. Every time a significant investment is made in the Mexican economy, it makes headlines that gradually change public opinion about the country's economic potential. As a result, Mexico is gaining a reputation as a reliable provider of quality manufactured products rather than simply being a country with crime and cheap labor. Another way a country can develop its industries is through debt, which also plays a unique and crucial role in Mexico's economic dynamics. The country has a notably low household debt to GDP ratio, primarily because the population is not well banked. This lack of banking hinders lending to people who earn income mainly in cash and likely lack formal financial records. This low availability of debt also restricts Mexico's potential growth compared to other developing countries like China, India, the Philippines, or Japan. Beyond that, one of Mexico's major weaknesses is ironically its heavy dependence on its economic relationship with the United States. While economists and commentators are enthusiastic about Mexico's potential to fuel demand for consumer goods from the United States, others worry about what it could mean for the long-term economy. This unique relationship with the United States also affects its economy in other ways. Ironically, its proximity to the world's largest market is both a burden and a blessing. The United States is obviously Mexico's main exporting partner, representing over 80% of its exports, while Canada accounts for less than 3% of Mexico's trade. Given this, it's fair to say that Mexican industries need the United States, but the United States does not need them. Until now, this economic relationship has been beneficial for both countries, but other issues have turned it into a kind of political football for US policymakers. Changes in the United States' attitude and who is in charge could quickly lead to the renegotiation of trade agreements, such as the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which has already been replaced by the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. Both agreements are effectively the same for now, but replacing the old agreement with the new one was crucial for a certain political leader who famously called it the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals. China can survive a trade war with the United States for political reasons, but Mexico cannot. The fear of companies that have invested in new factories or research and development due to future trade uncertainties has negatively impacted Mexico's economic growth. Mexico's proximity to the United States is also hindering portfolio investment, the more favorable type of foreign investment that retains control of assets and resources in the country. The reason is that foreign investors would simply prefer to put their money in the United States, a much more stable, larger, and typically more prosperous market. This is not a problem exclusive to Mexico. Canada struggles a lot with the same. However, it's worth mentioning, especially because the average Mexican is much less wealthy than the average Canadian and therefore less capable of making investments in their domestic market. There are many challenges holding back Mexico. However, recent trends show potential for positive change. Access to technology has been identified as a driving force behind better access to financial services in Mexico. Innovations in digital banking, mobile payments, and fintech are gradually advancing and providing financial institutions to the unbanked population. Efforts to combat crime and corruption continue, although progress is gradual. The Mexican government's commitment to economic reforms, infrastructure development, and diversification of industries beyond manufacturing also promise a more sustainable and inclusive economy. Mexico's economy has many strengths, including its manufacturing industry. However, challenges such as crime, wealth inequality, lack of banking services, brain drain, debt limitations, and excessive dependence on the United States pose obstacles to its full economic potential. Efforts to address these issues, combined with technological advances and government initiatives, offer hope for a more prosperous and equitable future for Mexico. Mexico may not become the next China and has a long way to go before it can even slightly reduce its dependence on the United States. However, even if it doesn't reach that point, if it continues moving in that direction, expecting it to reduce its reliance on the US, well, now is the time to put Mexico on the national economy scoreboard. Starting as always with size, thanks to its industries, Mexico has a GDP of $1.3 trillion, making it the 15th largest economy in the world, just behind Spain and ahead of Indonesia. It gets an 8 out of 10. While the GDP is impressive, it's distributed among a population of 126.7 million people, resulting in a per capita GDP of only $10,000, slightly below the world average of $12,235. Opportunities are there, and this figure is improving, albeit slowly, but for now, Mexico gets a 5 out of 10. Stability and confidence are better than most people expect. The country certainly has its problems with crime and corruption, there's no way around it, but it has proven to be a reliable place to do business. Addressing these other issues in the long term will be important, but for now, it's doing a good job convincing US companies that it's a safe enough place to settle. Mexico gets a 6 out of 10. As for growth, it hasn't been as strong as it should be. In the last decade, the economy has grown by approximately 20%, although it's moving in the right direction. However, it's far below the rate of its much larger and more established neighbor to the north. Mexico's growth should be highly correlated with US growth, but it hasn't been, for all the reasons we've explored in this video, so for now it gets a 4 out of 10. Finally, the industry, obviously ignoring the industry for which the country might be more famous. Mexico has shown that it's ready to make a smaller but viable alternative to the world's de facto workshop over the past half-century. It's not yet developing its own industries or driving new technologies, but for now it gets a 7 out of 10. Altogether, this gives Mexico an average score of 6 out of 10, a very respectable result that puts it here in the ranking. The first place in the ranking goes to another economy we talked about in another video. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Thanks.